what do you think has been the most important scientific discovery related to singing, the one that has the greatest impact on making us better singers? Thank you. That's
Oh, geez, that is a hard question.
I know you're gonna make us like sound like we're uh well scientific
I would say,
a better singer. That's a good qualifying point because there's been a lot of amazing discoveries. But which one of these amazing important discoveries has the greatest impact on making us a better singer? I think it's a matter of opinion, really.
yeah, because I'm thinking multiple ones that could be different for different singers as well.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, I think the greatest discovery, probably, if we really want to get down to it, goes all the way back to the 1800s when Manuel Garcia pulled out a mirror and looked inside of a singer's voice or a singer's mouth with the mirror to see the vocal folds. Because visualizing the vocal folds changed a lot. He was the one who invented this idea of laryngeal registration, of dealing with the coordination of the muscles at the laryngeal level. Had he not done that, we may not have progressed to where we are now. So I would say, like in the grand history scheme of things, Manuel Garcia deciding to look inside of the vocal folds was probably the biggest discovery. I
That,
would say,
I think that's great. You could also, I mean, I would also put forth, and this isn't one. This is related. It's still related to Manuel Garcia, but for me, one major thing that I think has a huge impact is just our advancement in technology, in what we can actually now observe. That let's be honest, like you said, 40 years ago, this wasn't possible. 30 years ago, we're getting better MRI machines. We're getting better cameras, high definition, high speed. The imagery that's coming out within the last, five years even is so much better than it was 10 years ago. That really helps tremendously, but it's still, like you said, it's an evolution on that thought.
yeah, I'd say like them to me, probably then if we had to look at what the most recent research that's probably going to long term have the biggest impact would be some of the work that Ingo Tietz has been really pioneering and delivering to the world about reactive inertance, vocal tract inertance. So, which is basically that when we make sound, that sound, let me grab my head. I've got not this end, this one. But so on this head model, these are the vocal folds down here, and the vocal folds produce vibrations. Well, we used to have this linear idea of sound production and the linear theory of vocal production that comes before all this reactive inertance research and the way that the acoustics play down here. We believe that the voice started at the breath flowed up through the vocal folds. That created a sound that flowed through the vocal tract, and it was a linear process. You had to fix the breath to get the vocal folds to work, to get the vocal tract to work, and then the sound went out and we're done. And what Ingo and Johann Sundberg and a lot of our great scientists have helped us understand is that actually any changes that you make in here is going to change the way that air actually travels back to the vocal folds, right? Because what happens is the air is traveling through your vocal tract, it hits the open lips. There's a difference in atmospheric pressure outside of your body than in. So some of the air, some of the sound waves actually travel backwards. And that backwards travel can push down onto those vocal folds and either help shove them tighter together or more apart, depending on the vowel configuration. And this is actually what we take advantage of with straw phonation. When you're doing straw phonation, you're using a straw to help limit the amount of air that can escape, to get air cycling back, to help part the vocal folds a little bit to get you into a more efficient vibrational pattern. Now, why is that one of the most significant findings? Well, because it changes our mindset about that linearity and transitions us to a nonlinear idea of vocal production. And in that nonlinear idea, now we start looking at the whole system as being responsible for the sounds that we make. And then we understand that if I close a vowel, it's going to change the way that air can travel through the vocal folds, which means I might have to change my respiratory approach versus an open vowel on the same pitch, which is going to change again the way that air flows out, which will change the way the vocal folds vibrate, which may change the way I need to breathe and use my respiratory system. So I think the key next steps in this evolution is going to be for us to start getting more and more data through both the computer simulations that Dr. Tita is running. There's a lot of simulations that are being done over in Asia right now where they're making models and they're researching, well, what happens if I drop this in?
Mm.
What does that do? How does that affect things? And what we're going to eventually have to do is figure out how to simplify it into usable information. Because right now the math is so complex, I can't get through it. Right? I am, I'm lucky I got out of high school. Not a math person. And so I look at that and I admire it and I believe them, but I can't quote you the formulas. I
Yeah.
think what we will find out, like we have with everything else, is 5 to 10 years from now, we're going to know that ooh vowels change your vibrational pattern by lightening it up by 10% or something like that. That's just random numbers, random facts. Or we'll find out that if you open your mouth opening to 3/4 of an inch, that is going to increase vocal fold closure by 7%. We'll probably start to get some ideas of that, or we'll walk away and go, everybody's different. And truly, you can't have anything that's consistent across the board, which just reinforces what Philippe and I were talking about when we came up with the Estel discussion, which is everybody's different and we got to train everybody different. But this research may be the proof that we need to help people truly understand that and commit to that, who are still on the fence and who are still thinking that maybe there is only one way. So I think that's going to be our next big breakthrough, is as all this work continues to happen, we get more data points from more types of singers, more people doing the work who explain it in different ways until we get the ultimate clarity that's really going to lead to some other breakthroughs in our training.
Yeah, that is great. I am also grateful for Ingo Tietze's research, and I think this is very transformative for the way people think about singing, like you said, rather than linear, or that you need this and this to make this. The idea that your vocal fold activity is affected by the configuration in your vocal tract, that not just the configuration is important, but actually how it affects the vocal folds. That's in evolution right now, and I think for me it's very liberating and
Yeah.
helps understand a lot of things. I mean, you can go back to Sundberg's work on formants and harmonics, harmonic boost. You could say that just the spectral analysis, the spectrogram for the voice and being able to target harmonics and frequencies for each style. All these things are very impactful. I'm also looking forward to the research coming up on that we'll have a presentation about on overtones. I think that's going to have a huge impact. But again, it all ties in with that in
Reactive inertance, I'm pretty sure is what I've seen. There's also several terms that get thrown around on that as well. So yeah,
yeah.
but
If we call it I think people used to, or well, before getting more detailed about it, but we call it a simple thing is just the supraglottal pressure or the postglottal pressure, the glottal pressure at the glottis. But that's important. And why is it important? Because again, it's that cycling effect. And Ingo Tietze talked about, which I personally find super fascinating, that the shape of the internal shape of the epilarynx, when you get it in the right position, matches exactly the internal shape of your ear, and that there's some sort of energetic and sound sync that happens there. And he's also talking about that the voice itself is a receptor for a sound and not just a producer of sound. So there's a lot of things that are being investigated. But yeah, lots of fun.
it was interesting. I was out there. I was in Salt Lake City at the National Center for Voice and Speech, and Ingo's daughter took me back and scoped me. And so Karen took me in, scoped me, and she's like, "You have an omega shaped epiglottis," and I was like, "What?" And then she was explaining to me they're now looking at the shapes of the epiglottis and the way that the epiglottis shape may give some people a certain extra buzz. And she said that's probably why your voice is so pingy and ringy, is because of the shape of your epiglottis. And I was like, wow, like that makes sense. I just had never thought of it until she was commenting on my my epiglottis shape.
Uh,
So yeah, it's fascinating stuff that they do. Ingo's team out there in Salt Lake City. It's if you want to look them up, it's the National Center for Voice and Speech. A brilliant, brilliant, brilliant man. Very kind, caring man. Somebody to definitely learn from while we can.
yeah, I'm also a big fan. I've met with Ingo several times and actually had him come to a workshop for some of my clients. Great, very fun, and Matt and I could go on and on about this. But so for the singer, what does that mean for the singer, and why is that so important for the singer? It's because it's going to, like Matt said, it's going to change perception. It's going to help you understand better why your voice is working the way it does, and will probably just connect a lot of dots and help you design. In my personal terms, it'll help you design your sound better.
I like that. Yep.